All of a sudden, point and shoot cameras from the early 2000s are back in style. So we're going to take a look at this camera and try to figure out what makes this style of camera so popular. So let's jump into the video and talk about it. This is a Sony W1, and why are we talking about it some 20 years after its introduction? For one reason or another, these little point and shoot cameras all of a sudden are back in favor. They're not being snapped up by the more mature, older photographers, but by the younger set. I think that's a great idea because anything you can do to attract younger people to photography is always a good thing. What makes this model appealing? Let's take a quick look. This is the Sony W1. Its specifications are rather modest. It has 5 megapixels. It has a 3 power zoom, a 3x zoom. It uses a small Zeiss Vario Tessar lens. Vario meaning variable focal length. Essentially, it's a zoom. There's not a whole lot to this camera. You have the lens, you have your flash unit. This actually has an optical viewfinder, although you can also use the LCD to compose your shot. On the back, well, on the top is your mode selector dial. And there are many modes. There's, P, then there's manual, and then there's a whole bunch of scenes. Then there's, this is sort of like fully automatic. Here's where you play back your images, and if you want to take movies. The movie resolution is rather low, so I don't think I've ever used this to take any movies, at least none that mattered. To the left of the viewfinder, there are 3 LEDs. The top LED glows red and remains red after you've taken a photo and while the image is being written to the memory card. The middle LED flashes green while attempting to focus and then stays green once focus has been locked. The bottom LED flashes orange to indicate that the flash is charging. Once the flash is fully charged, the light goes out. This is your zoom buttons. W for wide angle, and T for telephoto. Being a 3x zoom, you don't get a whole lot of wide and you don't get a whole lot of telephoto, maybe just enough. This button allows you to turn the LCD on and off and also display the histogram and some on-screen information. Here's your menu button. Here's, I guess you could call it a D-pad with your center selection switch, and this little button has a when you're in play mode, it will delete photos. Otherwise, I believe it lets you synchronize, or it lets you change the couple of the settings. Here's a small little USB port, little rubber cover for it. And down here, you have a port for external power. That's an AV port down here. This particular camera uses the memory stick, not the short memory stick Duo, the full-size memory stick. And so you'll notice that this one says Memory Stick Pro, and this particular one has capacity of 512 megabytes and was made by SanDisk. And it's a sort of like a toggle. Push it in to lock it, push it again, and it will allow you to remove it from the camera. On the bottom, you have a tripod socket and your speaker and your battery chamber cover. The catch on the battery chamber cover actually broke some time ago, so I put it in a small screw, and that's how I close the battery chamber. This uses 2 AA batteries. In a pinch, you can use alkaline batteries, although you're probably not going to get too much life out of them. NiCad batteries are going to give you more life. Nickel metal hydride will give you even more life, and these are the new rechargeable lithium-ion batteries, which I use. I've been using these for about 2 years or so. These have great capacity, and I think they don't have some of the issues that the earlier rechargeable batteries had. This one's capacity is 3,500 milliamp hours, and I think the voltage is like 1.4 volts or something like that. Now these come in different voltages. So if you do buy some rechargeable lithium ions, make sure you buy the ones that are a lesser voltage. I believe these also come with an output of 3 volts or more, and those you don't want because that would be too much for this camera. So it's fairly simple. Insert your 2 batteries, close your battery door, and turn on, here's your power switch, turn on the camera. First time you turn it on, it has to go through a series of checks. But in the future, when you turn it on, it powers up very quickly. So let me show you that again. If you put in fresh batteries, the first time you turn it on, it goes through a series of checks. And now it's on. Next time you turn it on, see, the startup time is shortened quite a bit. This camera has been extremely reliable. I can't recall when I purchased it, but I've never had a problem with it. I've used it to photograph a lot of my other cameras primarily. I've also taken it here and there when I just wanted a small digital camera with me. I think I mentioned that this has 5 megapixels, and if you ask me, I think for the compact cameras, I think 5 megapixels was really the sweet spot. I know that there are a lot of cameras with like 20 megapixels, 8, 16, 20 megapixels and more, but I think 5 megapixels for this size camera was just about right. But for what it is, it probably works adequately. There's not much weight to this camera, so let's go ahead and weigh it. And you can see this weighs just 8 ounces, 8.1 ounces, or half a pound. At 8.1 ounces, it tucks easily into your pocket, or even into a front pocket of a pair of jeans. Well, if you're a guy anyway, or slips easily into a bag or a purse, and you never really have to worry about it because it's a pretty sturdy little camera. This has a small corner ding. I don't know where I picked that up. And I think at some point this battery door is probably just going to snap. And maybe I'll have to address that someday. I can see a little stress crack appearing right here. So this obviously cannot use a filter, or if it did, it would somehow have to screw in here or extend out to here. I don't know if they ever sold one. I never looked for one, never really worried about it. This has this weird little extended portion here. I think this was to, see, sort of rest your finger against it while you're taking photos. It worked well enough. You know, it doesn't really get in the way, and it's just right there, so not a big deal. So this is part of Sony's CyberShot series, and there were a lot of CyberShot cameras of all shapes, sizes, resolutions, and across the entire expense range. Let's see what the price was for this way back when. This also only shoots in 4:3 aspect ratio. It does not shoot widescreen 16:9. This has some limitations, and its ISO range is probably one of them, with ISO selections of 100, 200, and 400. Okay, so the original price on this was about $400. Oh, by the way, I believe this is a 2.4-inch LCD screen. But let's look at that. And when you measure anything like a TV or any type of screen, you never measure this way. You measure corner to corner. Yeah, so that's they marked it as 2.4, but it's, yeah, you can see it's just under 2.5, so 2.4 inches would be accurate. And it's a fixed screen. That is, it does not articulate, does not tilt out. It is fixed in place. With many digital cameras, you actually could take more photos with the screen turned on than you could with it turned off. And I've never really understood why that is the case, because it seems like with the screen turned off, it would consume less power. But for some reason, it seems many digital cameras seem to consume more power with the screen turned off. Well, so who knows? Now this used, because this was one of the older generation of cameras, so this used a CCD sensor and not the more common CMOS sensor. This camera has digital zoom, but like all digital zooms, I've never used it because when you use a digital zoom, it does degrade the image quality. We will close this out by taking a look at several photos. As I've mentioned, I've used this camera to take a lot of photos of cameras, and sometimes cameras that are being repaired. Often I'll take a quick photo once I remove the top deck so I can see where all the parts went before I start removing them. And sometimes I'll take photos if I want to illustrate something in particular at a later date, but and it just allows me to have a good record of a camera that is under repair. What do these sell for today? Let's take a look. So it appears these sell for anywhere from 35. Well, I would say these sell from like $40 to $50. So that's really it's a decent price, and you do get a pretty decent camera. I would say always make sure it works, obviously, and but you'll have the additional challenge of needing to find a full-size memory stick. There probably are enough full-size memory sticks out there that it shouldn't take you too long, and you should be able to, if you're interested in this camera, you should probably be able to pick one up, I'm going to guess, and buy the full-size memory stick card for probably another $20 or so, nearly half the cost of the camera. The other difficulty you will have is in transferring images if you don't have a memory card reader that can handle that. However, don't despair, because remember, you do have a USB port over here. However, this is the mini USB. I believe they called this mini USB, so keep that in mind. You'll need a small mini USB cable if you do not have a card reader. Yeah, so if you are looking to jump back into the point and shoot realm, take a look at one of these. There seem to be plenty of them available on the used market. Sort of like going back to a box camera after using an SLR. Well, maybe not quite all the way to a box camera, but it is just a simpler way of taking photos. And certainly a step up from your cell phone, because this really allows you to do a true zoom. And I don't know. My cell phone's okay, but I'd probably select a little point and shoot every time. If you used any of the little point and shoots, let me know which one you liked. And don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. If you want to drop me a note, leave a comment below, or send me an email at contact@camera-talk.net. And I'll see you on the next video.